catlovedreamingpeach.com.
Hello, sweet peaches. This is a quick intro. I'm making it on TikTok, but I'm sharing it on YouTube as well. This video is about due process. And when I say you specifically, I'm speaking mostly to this stupid, ignorant, racist, xenophobic, probably misogynistic Nazi wannabe dumbass who commented on my last video.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is...
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Last video. So if you're interested in due process in general, if you want a refresher, if you just want to know about it, or if you're a dumb Nazi fuck wannabe, this video is for you. And also, just to say, the TLDR version, due process is the law. The law is due process. You cannot have one without the other. If you take out due process, you do not have the law. You have lawlessness, fascism, Nazism, authoritarianism, dictatorship, but it is not a democracy and it's not law. Okay, that's the TLDR. Too long didn't read. Too long didn't listen. The TLDL. Due process is for everyone, motherfucker. Everyone. For you, for your mama, for your baby mama, for your daddy, for your baby daddy, for the neighbor, for the fucking person who showed up here legally, for the person who's here undocumented, for the criminals, for the murderers, for the rapists, for all, for the innocent, for the white people, for the brown people, for the light brown people, for the dark brown people, for all fucking people. Okay? Due process is the process of finding out the truth. And if you take that away, then you're an evil person. Okay, on to the video. And if you're watching this on TikTok, then please join me on my YouTube channel, which is Cat Love Dreaming Peach. You can join me there. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe. So important. Please subscribe. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then enjoy the video. Hey, sweet peaches. I got a cute new shirt. Bluebird floral shop. Isn't it cute? Because I'm a bluebird. Now I'm going to get in my chair. I also got my cute little matching rainbow, which looks perfect for what I'm going to talk about. This video is about due process. This video was inspired by a Nazi who left a comment on my video dreaming of due process, impeachment, dogs, and democracy, and a do-over. So what I've done is I went to ChatGPT and I asked it to give me explanations about due process as if I were talking to a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 20-year-old, a grown-up. And then I asked for explanations about why due process is for everybody, whether you were born on this soil, whether you live here, whether you're just visiting, whether you are undocumented, whether you've committed a crime, even if you are a horrible, despicable criminal who's from another country, you still deserve due process, because due process is not something that's just for some people, because that's not due process. That's Nazi mentality and behavior. And if you think for any reason on earth, even one speck of a reason why you believe that anyone does not deserve due process, then you are a Nazi in your mind, whether or not you acknowledge it. And even if you have a long laundry list of all the so-called reasons why you believe that this person is a terrible person, should not be here in this country, which makes no sense, really, if you think about it, because if they committed a crime on this soil and the crime was done here, then that's where the crime gets prosecuted because the crime was done on this soil. There is a situation where if somebody who is a citizen of another country commits a crime over here, after their due process, after their conviction, after their sentence, and then they're free to go, then you could send them back to the place where they came from. However, not to a prison or a gulag, but at the same time, none of that fails to take into account due process. So I am going to read this document that I compiled from the answers. And obviously, people who think that others don't deserve due process for whatever reason in your mind, you're not going to care about these reasons because you don't care about facts. You don't care about people. See, that's the thing, is that when you fail to offer someone due process, anyone, then anyone can be pointed at and accused and said, you did XYZ 1, 2, 3, and therefore you're a terrible person, you're out of here. But if you do that to people, if you decide this group of people, however you choose to define them, like Hitler did, this group of people are not really people that deserve the rights and the due process and the consideration. And, this disgusting, evil person who left a message on my video about due process from yesterday, you have a whole bunch of claims about someone. If those claims were true, he would have been in jail. If those claims were true, he would have been deported. If those claims were true, he would not have been given protected legal status and work permit. He wouldn't have been checking in regularly with ICE. And yet you fail to acknowledge the facts that when Donald Trump was in office the first time, this man went through a legal process and he was given a protected order that said you may not deport this man back to El Salvador because when he was there as a teenager, he was being threatened by gangs that he did not want to be a part of. And so his mom sent him to Maryland as a boy, as a 16-year-old boy. I have a 16-year-old son. I could not imagine being in a position where we live is so dangerous that he is either going to be killed by the gang or forced to join the gang. And my only option is to send him somewhere else that I can't even go, just in the hopes that he could get away from danger and maybe be in a safe place where he can actually do good, which is exactly what he did. So the only crime that he committed, which is why he had to go to ICE, was his mom sent him as a minor to the US so he could get away from being threatened by gangs. And they said, oh, okay, you can work, you can stay here, just check in with us, you're not a danger. And now these evil, racist, xenophobic, disgusting people want to take a 29-year-old man who has been here, is it 13 years? I think he's 29. He's married to an American citizen. He's been with her for years and years. They have a 5-year-old American son, special needs son. They have 3 children together that they've been raising. He is a Maryland man. He is a man who lives in Maryland and has been doing so, paying taxes, working, being a stand-up citizen, helping to contribute to his society in a positive way, creating a love. And there's rumors that he physically abused his wife and did all this stuff. That's what smear campaigns are about. That's why due process is so crucial, because anybody can say anything about you, your mom, your fucking kids, anyone. They can call you the worst names. They can say you're affiliated with gangs. They can say you've been human trafficking. They can say you beat your wife. They can say anything they want to. But where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Where is the process that is due? Where is the full vetted, show me the evidence? Who said this guy was an M13? It was a corrupt former cop who was paying sex workers and lying about people. It has been proven that that disgraced former cop was a liar and a crook, and that's the source. So we are supposed to believe that this bad former cop who was a crook, who was taking advantage of people in very, very precarious and risky situations and using it to his own advantage and lying about innocent people. And that's supposed to be the source that we're supposed to trust. You see, that's why due process matters, because any old nasty old Nazi fucking wannabe can say anything about someone, and then if there's no process where that person can prove this is true or this is not true, this is where I work, these are the people I work for, this is the background check that they did on me. This is my actual story. I am not affiliated with the gang. The only affiliation I have with the gang is trying to get the fuck away from it because they were going to kill me. And that's why I came to this country. And that's why a judge under the Trump administration said, we cannot deport this man back to El Salvador. And they might have said, you could deport him somewhere else if there was a reason to, but he is not a danger. In fact, let him work. And he's been here for over a decade. And then you disgusting, twisted people who just want to believe the worst of the worst. This fucking Donald Trump came down a fucking golden escalator talking about Mexicans are rapists, thieves, horrible people, criminals, and blah, 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 blah. And you didn't realize that that was a fucking racist, xenophobic thing, disgusting thing to say way back then. And now here he is villainizing and weaponizing his hatred against mostly innocent people. It has come out that at least like 90% of the people that he's already illegally kidnapped and abducted and sent to prisons, to concentration camps, are innocent people that he's just hating because of the color of their skin. And you're going to get on my video and fucking leave hate and lies and bullshit? Well, this is for you and anybody who's also wondering, what is due process? And, you know, why does anyone deserve process? Why does a murderer deserve due process? Because if anybody is accused of something and they are not given the right to be heard, to prove their side, to have a well-educated, skilled advocate, attorney advocate for their side and have a legal process that allows for both sides to be heard with the full, unbiased judge being an arbiter of the law, not saying this is what it is, just being a gatekeeper of the law, then that's when we descend into utter chaos and terror for most people. Anyone that the regime decides it's you now, and you have no recourse for due process. All right, so I'm going to scooch myself over here, and then I'm going to make this smaller. See, I'm not sure. Oh, you know what? All right, I think this will work. Due process for all explained. Now I'm going to be reading, okay? So, explain in a thorough yet concise manner. First, explain it. Let me move over just a little. First, explain it like a 2 or 5-year-old. Then explain it to like a 10-year-old. Then explain it. Let's see, I think I need to go just a tiny bit down. First, explain it to a 2 or 5-year-old, then explain it to a 10-year-old then explain it to a 16-year-old, then explain it to a full-blown adult, like you're 2 to 5. If someone says you did something wrong, they have to play fair. They can't just take your toys or put you in a timeout or in a gulag without telling you why and letting you talk about it and just making up lies about you without proving them. They can't just say, you're a poopy head and a bad person. Off you go. Okay, that's what due process would be like. That's what no due process would be like if you were little. If you're 10 years old, due process means that if somebody says you broke a rule or a law, they have to give you a chance to hear what you're being accused of and let you explain your side. Grown-ups can't punish you without being fair and following the rules. Now, of course, we know that many grown-ups are unfair and they do punish people without following the rules. Or sometimes people are racist or stupid or have hatred in their heart, and they might think Johnny has pale skin, so he deserves to be given much more consideration than maybe Susie, who has brown skin. So the teacher hates people with brown skin. So if you have brown skin, or maybe long hair, or maybe you don't believe what they believe, or maybe you're a different religion than they think matters, then they're going to be unfair to you. They're going to give Johnny 2 cookies or 3 cookies or all the cookies while you have to sit there and sit in a corner. And that's what not having due process is like. Johnny hit Susie, and the teacher said, Susie, you're a bad girl. You're going to have to be punished and stay after school, and you don't get recess and you don't get a snack. And Susie says, but Johnny hit me first. And the teacher says, absolutely not, Susie. You're a liar. You're a bad person. You go over there. Johnny, you're such a good guy. I'm so sorry you had to deal with this. You're going to be president of the class now. That's what it would be like at a 10-year-old level. Let's talk about it like you're 16. Due process is a rule in the Constitution that says the government has to treat people fairly if they're accused of something. That means you have the right to know what you're being accused of, the right to defend yourself, and the right to a fair hearing or trial, which means you get to prove whether or not it's true. You get to show your own evidence. You get to have your own witnesses. You get to show, so in the case of Anthony Carmelo and Austin Metcalf, I think, or what's his name? Actually, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. Okay. But I do know that there was an altercation. There was something that happened, and Anthony did have a knife and he used it. And now Austin is dead. And when you go on Facebook and you read about it, you can, like, there's articles and then there are comments. Well, some of the people say that Anthony is a murderer, that he went somewhere he wasn't supposed to be with a knife with the intention to kill. He went into a tent of strangers where he wasn't supposed to be. He took out his knife and he killed an innocent kid. That's one version of the story. Another version of the story is Anthony was invited to that tent by a friend and he was there. And then Austin and his twin brother are racists and they didn't think that Anthony should be there. And so they took it upon themselves to tell a stranger who was there seeing a friend that he had to leave. And they took his bag, they threw it out the tent, they started to shove him, to push him, they started hitting him. And then in maybe the knife was on him. I don't know. This is the thing. I don't know. Okay, so somehow they were taking his stuff, they were throwing his stuff, they were hitting him. And then he had a knife which he took out to defend himself, which ended in Austin being killed somehow. I don't know how he was actually injured. Okay. And these guys are in high school. Now, there were witnesses and there were people who know Anthony. There were people who know Austin and his brother. There were probably people who've taken videos on their phones. There is the evidence, similar, like I was saying, with Courtney Clenny. Courtney Clenny, a white woman, had murdered her boyfriend, a black man. Now, some videos have come out of Courtney Clenny with Christian Obamzelli in elevator where she's beating on him. And there's another video of their friend who's sitting in their apartment on the couch, who happens to be filming them, and they're arguing, and you see her hitting him again. Does that mean at the moment that it happened that she did it? I don't know. There's also evidence that about a week or two before she stabbed him to death, she had stabbed him another time during an argument, and he went to the hospital and everything. And it was documented, photos, witnesses, doctors, friends, people who overheard them screaming and arguing in the apartment, that she stabbed him previously, that she had a history of being physically violent with him. So when her case comes up to trial, she should have due process, just like she shouldn't be automatically assumed that she murdered this man in cold blood. She also shouldn't be assumed that she's innocent. Like some racist people would say, well, he's a black man, so obviously she was in self-defense. Or, I would lean towards that crazy bitch, she probably did it. So the fact is, she deserves a due process. Now, her parents went on his computer and deleted some shit. They had possession of his laptop after he had been murdered by their daughter, and they deleted shit off his computer. That was a big problem as well. I think they were being charged with obstruction of justice and tampering with evidence, because it's actually a crime to get in the way of due process. Okay, so back to Anthony and Austin. I don't know what side to believe. I tend to, my instinct is to believe that Austin and his brother are racist motherfuckers who were way overstepping where they had no right to step, and they were getting physical, and they were trying to force somebody out because they didn't want him there, which it wasn't their fucking business. And they took it too far, and one of them lost their life. However, I don't know if that's true. That's my prejudice, because I am prejudiced against most white people. I automatically assume you're probably racist, you're probably xenophobic, you're probably fucking closed-minded, you probably privileged and don't even know it. And I feel like white people need to prove to me through their behavior, through their words, through their actions, through who they associate with, through what they believe and how they show up. You need to prove to me, motherfucker, that you're not. When I meet anybody else, I automatically assume that they're good people. So I am absolutely 100% biased and prejudiced against white people, because it's almost always white people who are the fucking problem. And I don't even believe that black people or any other like racism. You can be prejudiced, you can have biases, you can be hatred, but people of color cannot be racist in this country, because they cannot systemically use that racism to harm white people. You can be racist in another country where your racism towards someone of another, and I don't even believe in race. Race is a fucking social construct made up by eugenic racist people to push their fucking racist agenda. There's various levels of melanin. White is, I don't even like to say I'm white, because that's a fucking false concept that was built on the idea of oppression. White people were just a group of pale motherfuckers that came from all over the place, and rich pale people wanted to have something to join the poor pale people so they could systemically be racist and discriminate against other people, so they could profit off of the enslavement of human beings and the degradation of human beings, which is exactly what's happening right now. And so right now, it's Spanish speaking people who are getting the brunt of the hatred. Around 9/11, it was people who were Arabic. And then before that, it was the darker skinned people. Like, how stupid can you be that you keep on falling for the racism? It's because you're hateful. You have hatred in your heart, which is more important to you than being a good person who recognizes that every living being has the right to exist peacefully. And yeah, I'm vegan and I take that to the full extent. I don't eat animals. I don't wear leather. I don't participate in so-called entertainment where animals are getting abused. I don't go to zoos. I don't, like to horseback ride. I don't do anything like that. That's the choice that I make day to day because that's how much I respect life and the sanctity of life and the all oneness of everyone except fucking racists and Nazis. That's my point of like everybody but y'all. But even still, you deserve due process as well. Okay, let's see. I'm not sure what happened to the, okay, here. Due process explained, for all explained. Okay, I wanted to read this. Okay, due process is the constitutional guarantee that protects individuals from the government acting unfairly. It ensures that before the government can take away your freedom, property, or rights, they must follow established legal procedures. This includes giving you notice of the charges, the opportunity to respond, and a hearing before a neutral decision maker. It's about fairness, transparency, and accountability in legal proceedings. And it protects people because there are racist, bigoted, misogynistic, xenophobic people out there like you, fucking rude ass commenter, you disgusting pig. You know what? You're not a pig because pigs are really okay. Most pigs are okay. You're a disgusting villain. And if you were a full blown adult, we could explain. Due process, rooted in the 5th and 14th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution, is the legal requirement that the state must respect all legal rights owed to a person, whether you fucking think they're a person or not. They're a human being, and that makes them a person. And it doesn't matter where they were born. It doesn't matter their religion. It doesn't matter whether you believe they've committed a crime or multiple crimes. None of that matters because the fact is that when you have a long list of all the things that they've done, you have to prove it. Otherwise, it's just your word against theirs. And what makes you think that your word is more important than them? Because you're racist. It functions as both a procedural and substantive safeguard. Procedurally, it mandates fair legal processes, notice, the right to be heard, and the adjudication by an impartial body. Substantively, it also protects certain fundamental rights from government interference, even if procedural steps are followed. It is a cornerstone of the rule of law, preventing arbitrary governance and ensuring justice. In simple terms, due process is the rule that says the government can't just do whatever it wants to do. It has to follow fair steps, respect your rights, and not pass laws that take away your freedom without every good reason, proven in a court of law with facts, not just words. Well, my kids are home. It's Sunday, last day of spring break week. Starting to warm up, actually. All right, now I'm going to get into why due process is the law for all. Anybody, whether they were born here, whether they came here legally or illegally, whether you fucking like them, don't like them, whether you think that they are a human or not a human, whether you think they deserve due process or not. And if you think they don't deserve due process, or a Nazi wannabe. What a terrible thing to wanna be. But yet here we are. Here is a clear and powerful explanation of why due process is the law for everyone. So why due process matters for all of us, whether you think so or you don't think so, and why the reason it's a law for all. Why due process is the law for all? Well, one, because the Constitution says so. The U.S. Constitution, which is the highest law of the land, supposedly, guarantees due process to every person, not just citizens, not just people we like, and not just people we agree with. The language in both the 5th and 14th Amendments is deliberately broad. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any state, no motherfucking tyrant, deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Notice that it says person, not a citizen, not a taxpayer, not a voter, not a white person. That means everyone on the U.S. soil is protected, including citizens, immigrants, documented or undocumented, people accused of crimes, prisoners, children, people with mental illness, people with unpopular beliefs. Literally everyone, you stupid motherfucker, even you. Why that matters? It stops government abuse as well as abuse from people like you. If the government could ignore due process for some people, like they're doing right now, those innocent men, even if just one of those men is innocent, no innocent man should be sent to a fucking gulag, and actually no guilty man should be sent to a gulag. Guilty people should be treated with humanity. Here comes my kid. All right, he's just playing his bass. Needed his tuner. If the government could ignore due process for some people, they could ignore it for anyone. And that's how authoritarian regimes start and how they behave, by picking and choosing who gets rights. So you, disgusting Nazi wannabe commenter on my video, again, you listed a whole long list of stuff that you claim that this person did. Prove it. Prove it in court. Prove it with evidence. Prove it with facts, not just words, because it prevents injustice. Due process ensures that people aren't punished based on lies, bias, or discrimination. Everyone gets a chance to speak and defend themselves and be treated fairly, whether you like it or not. It protects minorities and the unpopular. Even if someone is hated, accused of a terrible crime, or seen as the other, which you guys really love to do, they still get the same rights. That's how we make sure mob rule doesn't replace the rule of law. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, the white guys, you're the other, because you're the only main group that wants to demonize everybody else. You're the majority of white guys out there are closed-minded, narrow-minded, ignorant as fuck. And you might have book smarts or know financial stuff, or maybe you know some kind of history, which is really just propaganda, let's be honest, but you're ignorant and you're hateful and you're privileged and you don't even know it, and you benefit off of a system that destroys lives for your benefit, and you want to act like you're the victim. And are all white men like that? No. But my bias and prejudice is that I automatically assume motherfucker needs to prove themselves, because in this climate, you don't know who you can trust. But a white man is the last one I would trust automatically. And that sounds hateful, but that is based on my experience. That is based on the history that I'm aware of. So as far as every white man deserves his due process, he deserves to be treated with respect, and he deserves to be given the opportunity to show that he's not a racist pig. But this is a climate where there is one group who are the primary perpetrators and predators and instigators of hate and crimes, mass shootings, serial killers, the majority of murderers, even white collar crimes. But would that make it right to automatically assume that every white guy is a crook? Of course not. But that's exactly what so many of you guys are doing to all the other people who don't look like you. And another thing, which I really find so unbelievably ignorant, is that these ignorant ass white men, you guys hate people who came from somewhere else when they, just by the very nature of them coming from somewhere else, that means that they are probably more intelligent than you, probably more cultured than you. Most likely they speak more than one language, which most of the white guys out here who hate on everybody else, most of you only speak one language and you barely do good at that. You know how much courage it takes, and how much bravery, how much uh, determination and being a self-starter and all those good positive things it takes to move to a whole entire another culture. Or maybe for some people, they didn't move to an entire different culture, but they moved to a new place to start a new life. Most people do that because they want to improve their lives, not because they're going somewhere to be criminals. That's so hateful and xenophobic and stupid. Everything positive happens from diversity, and everything awful and disease ridden happens in a monoculture. Monoculture equals death. Monoculture equals disease. Monoculture equals bad stuff. Bad, bad, bad. It's bad, bad, bad when everything is the same. Homogeny is bad. You're dumb as fucking dumb as a rock when you don't realize that. By the way, if you haven't noticed, 30 minutes in, just because I'm vegan and a non-violent person and a pacifist doesn't mean that I don't fucking curse and call people out and fucking burn y'all with my words. It reflects moral values. And I personally, like, I don't think saying fuck you, you stupid twat, you're a dumb cunt makes me less of a person if I'm saying it to somebody who, you really are. But yet still, I think you deserve due process. You don't deserve my respect, and you don't deserve me to give you kind words, and I don't have to care about your feelings, but I do care about whether or not you're treated with humanity. You have the right to move about freely in a world, to live, to work, to breathe with nonviolence. And if somebody accuses you of a crime, then you have the right to defend yourself with a legal advocate who is there doing the job, no matter what I think about you. Because it says something about what kind of country we are, what kind of people we are. People who believe in fairness, humanity, equality, and dignity for humans, not revenge or favoritism. An example of what if it wasn't for all. Imagine if due process only applied to some people. Police could arrest you without explanation, like we used to have. Your boss could fire you and seize your stuff without warning, which is what's happening now. The government could take your home, freedom, your child, and you have no way to fight back, which is happening to many people. Your boss firing you and seizing your stuff without warning happened to Jennifer A. Bell, a white lady. And it's now going to be part of a lawsuit because due process is a thing. And the information that was taken from the stolen phones and devices may not even be used, may possibly not be used in a court of law, because you can't even use so-called evidence if you obtain it illegally. It's not democracy when there's no due process. It's tyranny. It's fascism. Due process is the law for all, because justice isn't justice if it only protects certain people. The moment you take it away from one person, you open the door to taking it away from everyone. It is our legal shield for the guilty and the innocent, for the accused and, the people who you hate them because you're a racist motherfucking stupid bitch, or you are like, well, I don't know. I like with Anthony Carmelo. I don't know if he's innocent or not. Again, I said my instinct is to assume that white boys was doing something bad and he was protecting himself. Racist people who are obviously going to assume, well, the brown skinned kid obviously is a criminal. Why did he have a switchblade? I don't know. How many white kids are given a Swiss Army knife by their parent at age 16 or whatever because it's super cool to have, dude? But now all of a sudden this guy has a knife and he's automatically being labeled as a murderer and is premeditated. Why is it premeditated? Maybe he fucking whittles wood. Maybe he's a Boy Scout. You have no fucking clue what kind of knife it was and why he had it. Maybe he just got back from camping. You have no idea. You're just making assumptions. People who are making assumptions, that's your bias. Now, I have a bias thinking that these two white boys telling this kid to leave the tent probably were being fucking Karens and had no right to do what they were doing. And they got violent because they have this privilege and they are living in this society right now that is like allowing like the Nazi shit that guy was saying on my commenting. That's the same stupid shit Carolyn Levitt is saying. They are outright lying. They're sitting in the Oval Office lying. Donald Trump himself, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Tim Miller, Pam Bondi, all of these stupid fucking white racist absolute villains, these creeps, these crooks. They are saying lies, and then some of you people are sucking it up and believing it because you love to believe terrible things about brown-skinned people. You love to be cruel. Okay, now explain it to someone who thinks that people who are not American citizens or people who have committed crimes or really anyone who doesn't deserve process, why they are, first of all, thinking like a Nazi, second of all, are extremely wrong, and third of all, very dangerous, and fourth of all, why it's outright illegal themselves in what they think is acceptable, and why you should go to jail if you keep pushing these disgusting ideas and thoughts. If you actually believe that people should be rounded up and put on planes and sent to prisons with no due process simply because you don't like the color of their skin, their religion, or where they were born, or because some corrupt person in the government pointed at them and saying you're a terrorist, you're in a gang, you keep that up, you're going to end up in jail. Okay, first of all, that logic is straight up Nazi logic. Let's not sugarcoat it. The idea that some people don't deserve due process based on their citizenship, lack thereof, their religion, their race, or accusations made by the government or by some fucking rando, it's not just unconstitutional. It's exactly what fascist regimes did and do and are doing. Hitler's regime stripped people of rights before targeting them. They said Jews, Roma, LGBTQ plus people, disabled people, and others didn't deserve rights. They said people who speak out against us, people who talk down to me, people who don't say thank you when I'm stepping on their face. I'm slapping you in the face and bending you over and the ass, and you didn't say thank you. You're a criminal. Okay? They rounded up people, labeled them as threats or criminals, like that other fucking guy said. Well, he's either a terrorist or a soon-to-be terrorist. So now you can just decide somebody might be a terrorist? Okay, and you're okay with that? And send them to camps without trials, without evidence, without justice, and they killed them. Most of them. Does that sound familiar? Because it should. And when you say some people don't deserve due process, you are echoing one of the darkest ideologies in history, which is unfortunately living, breathing, current reality. Secondly, that belief is 100% wrong factually and legally. The Constitution says no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. There's no asterisk or a footnote except when you feel like it, except when you don't like brown people, except when Caroline Leavitt said that it was, you're never going to come back and live here. You're not a Maryland father. Oh, yeah, fuck you, bitch. I just found out that you stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from your campaign, your failed campaign. You no-lip bitch. You bleach, blonde, bad built, ugly fucking. You know why I call people ugly and stuff? It's because you are ugly from the inside out. I'm not necessarily like, yeah, with Carolyn, your ugly fucking lips and stuff. It wouldn't matter because if you were a good, kind-hearted person, then you would probably be cute, right? Anybody, whether it's Amber Heard, whether it's Blake Lively with all her 3 nose jobs and her eyebrow work and her jaw work and this and that and the other thing, and the fake boob job and the fucking liposuction and all those things, even without that, she could have maybe been cute. But when you have an evil, cruel, despicable, soulless black hole that is just emanating, it's off-gassing your evil ideology and how cruel you are and how much you want to destroy other people for your own benefit, and also because you're gleeful at seeing others suffer. For many of you, the cruelty is the point. It's just so despicable. It is so utterly horrific that these never be good enough, less than, white man can't jump, fucking soulless, evil, ignorant, small-minded, and yet they think they're the best. You really think that if there was a fucking scale of grandeur, that the smallest minded weak link would be the best? Ugh. You are like the weak link of evolution that did not evolve, and you are clinging to you're not even, I wouldn't even insult a Neanderthal. You're less than that. Like, and again, now I'm being like eugenics in the way I'm talking, but it's like something is wrong with people like this. Like, what would make anybody really believe that homogeny is good? We have so much evidence in history throughout the world, in science, genetics, in biology, in gardening, in horticulture, in every aspect of life. Homogeny and monoculture kills, and diversity is where we thrive and grow. And the fact that people still are clinging to your homogenous desires, it's just, it's like you're like a flat earther. You're just a fucking backwoods stupid motherfucker, and somehow ended up getting rich and getting power. So sickening. Due process is a universal shield in the United States. Even people accused of crimes, even people you don't like, people who don't look like you, worship like you, or come from the same country, or speak the same language, or believe the same things, or live the same way, or love the same way, or none of that. Because an accusation is not guilt. Somebody saying you did this, and the other thing, you beat your wife, you did this, you did it. Just because somebody said it doesn't make it true. You got to show your facts, your evidence. Without due process, truth dies, justice fails, and evil starts to take over. Third, those ideas are extremely dangerous. Once someone says some people don't deserve rights, that's a system where no one is safe. Today it's immigrants, and it's also journalists. It's also political opponents. And then it's going to be you. History clearly shows this pattern. Totalitarian regimes always start making it okay to hurt those people, and then eventually becomes okay to hurt anyone. See, the thing is that right now, like, that poem, first they came for the Jews, then they came for the who's, and they came for the what's-its and the whatnots and the have-nots, and then it's me. Right now, you think you're all good, okay? But what happens when somebody you care about, somebody you know, somebody you love, somebody you didn't want snatched gets snatched, and then you have the nerve to talk out, and then you find yourself getting snatched because you spoke out. That's the whole thing. Speak out now or lose any chance. And what you're supporting, when you support that, you nasty, disgusting commenter and everybody like you and Trump and all those fucking cruel people, what you're supporting itself is illegal. Trying to deny someone their constitutional rights is a violation of civil rights. It's a violation of international law. Supporting racial profiling, religious discrimination, and deportation without trial violates the 14th Amendment, equal protection. It violates the 5th Amendment, due process. It violates international human rights treaties the U.S. has signed. And even if we hadn't signed it, this is what I'm saying, at some point, the rest of the world, or some parts of it, are going to be like, oh no, motherfucker. What you're doing is not just hurting your own citizens and your own people, but you are a global threat. You are hurting all of us. And we're not okay with that, because there's still people in this world who care about humanity, even if it's not the people who run this country right now. I do still have hope that there are enough people who will get these fucking disgusting, evil crooks out. But they have taken so much power, I don't know. It's very, very concerning. And if you push for rounding people up, locking them away without trial, deporting people en masse without legal process, you are advocating for crimes against humanity. Yes, actual crimes, the kind that people have been imprisoned for at The Hague. So you want to jail others without trial. Let's talk about you. If you continue to push this logic, you're not just wrong, you're trying to normalize fascism. You're trying to tear down the rule of law. You're trying to create a country where fear, violence, and silence replace freedom, fairness, and speech. And that should scare every American, left, right, center, and inside out motherfucker. If we're going to jail people based on who's threatening the Constitution and democracy, people like you would be the first in line, bitch, along with Trump and his fucking cartel of evil.
The number you
Final
have dialed.
word, if you only believe in
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
rights for some people, you don't believe in rights at all. You believe in power. And power without law is tyranny. Due process isn't optional. It's the bedrock of freedom. And if you're trying to break that bedrock, you don't belong in charge of anything. You belong in a courtroom defending your own actions with the full due process, of course, because even people like you deserve that. And that's what makes this country different from the regimes you sound like. Okay, so due process, explain more fully. Due process is a constitutional principle that ensures the government must follow fair procedures before depriving a person of life, liberty, or property. It is primarily found in two places in the U.S. Constitution. The Fifth Amendment applies to the federal government. The 14th Amendment applies to state and local governments. The Fifth Amendment states no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The 14th Amendment states, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. There's two types of due process. One, procedural due process. This is the how. It ensures fair procedures before the government can take something from you, like your freedom or your property. Think of it as the rules the government must follow before punishing you or restricting you. Procedural due process includes notice. You must be told what you're accused of or what the government intends to do to you, which does not include scooping you up and abducting you and throwing you on a plane. The opportunity to be heard. You must have a chance to present your side, usually at a hearing or a trial, which means you're not going to fucking jail, you dumb bitch. A neutral decision maker. And even when people get arrested and they go to jail and then they're not allowed out on bond, you have to prove why. And within right away, you can't just fucking throw somebody in jail and be like, we'll tell you why in a year. A neutral decision maker. A judge or a body that is not biased must make the decision. Somebody who follows the law, who knows the law, who's doing the law. Okay, here's an example. A student standing on a corner about to cross the street to go to school gets abducted by masked men with guns. whisking her away with no explanation, throwing her in the back of a van and then sending her to a prison. That is disgusting. That's happening. Or the government takes you home for unpaid taxes and must notify you and give you a hearing. Okay? Or they just snatch you out of school or out of your job or off the street. Or you go to ICE to check in and they say, haha, got you. So these people are like, only legal documented people who follow the law. And then you've got Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who, yeah, his mom sent him here when he was 16 without the legal process. But then he has been following the law and doing everything he's supposed to do. And yet you still want to accuse him of crimes that have not been proven. And in fact, have been shown that there was no evidence of, and that the one guy who said he was MS-13, was a fucking corrupt ex-cop. Okay. Substantive due process. This is the what. It limits what laws the government can pass regardless of the procedure used. Even if the government follows all the right steps, a law may still violate your rights if it intrudes on fundamental liberties without a good enough reason. It protects rights such as the right to privacy, used in cases like contraception, same-sex intimacy, and abortion rights before Dobbs, parental rights, raising and educating your children, marital rights like interracial and same-sex marriage, bodily autonomy. Substantive due process says some rights are so fundamental that the government can't even touch them without a compelling reason, because even then, only using the least restrictive means. Why does it matter? Due process is what protects individuals from abuse of power. Without it, the government could lock people up without a trial, which is what they're doing. Property could be seized without compensation or notice. Like what's happening to Kilmar Garcia's family? She's got 3 children. She was being helped. She was supporting her family along with her husband and his income. And now he has been thrown off in a jail in another country. She can't see him. She can't talk to him. He hasn't been able to reach a lawyer. She has no idea what, he's being accused of. Then in a press conference, fucking stupid ass Caroline Levitt is up there accusing this man, slandering him, saying all this stuff, talking bad about her. What about her rights? What about her right to not be defamed? What about her rights to have her husband that she chose there who was supporting that? Like all of it is so fucked up. And you guys will demand that a woman not have a right to decide whether or not she's going to have a baby. And then, yeah, here is a kid who was being raised by his parents, and you think it's okay to snatch that man away, throw him in a gulag in another country, and then fucking stupid bitch Pam Bondi's going to get up there and say, that woman and those kids are better off without him. Now, fuck you, bitch. How dare you? She should spend 35 days in a fucking gulag and counting. It is one of the core checks that separates a free society from a tyrannical one. People should never lose their rights without being heard. The concept dates back to Magna Carta 1215, which said the king could not imprison someone except by the lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. So, bitch, you are so out of date. We got to go back 800 some fucking years to get back to how ignorant you are. In U.S. history, due process evolved to not just protect procedures, but to also strike down unjust laws, particularly during the 20th century, you stupid fucking crusty old minded bitch. Key cases: Goldberg versus Kelly, 1970. People receiving welfare benefits must get a hearing before those benefits are cut off. Roe v. Wade in 1973 recognized abortion as a right under substantive due process, which was overturned 3 years ago by you fucking evil bitches. Loving v. Virginia, 1967, struck down laws banning interracial marriage. Just a few years before my parents got married. Obergefell versus Hodge, 2015, legalized same-sex marriage across the U.S. Just 10 fucking measly years ago. So, that is my passionate and curse word, insult-filled explanation of due process for you dumb fucking Nazi wannabe Schmittler idiots, you ignorant, hateful people. Why your ignorance and hate is not just stupid but dangerous, and why people like you are the people who should be locked up. You should be locked up for promoting hate and violence against innocent people. And you know, hate speech is not the same thing as freedom of speech. The freedom to express your opinion. Like, I think that you are a bitch and an asshole and a stupid dumb motherfucker. That's my opinion. But I can't go out here saying that you're a criminal and listing a bunch of so-called crimes that you did when I know goddamn well I have no evidence of that, just because I think you're a bad person. You're a bad person. You don't have a soul, and you're probably going to go to hell if there is such a thing as a hell, which I don't actually believe in. But if I did believe in one, or if there was somehow one, if there is a hell, you're already there. You're just a living demon, basically. And I'm not even religious, but you know, there are people out here who are evil. The true definition of evil through and through. And like I've already said, most of the time you end up being white guys. And sometimes white women. But not all. Like me. I recognize my lack of melanin, okay? Luckily for me, I was raised by a black woman. And I do believe that because of the fact that I was raised by a black woman and her whole very rich culture family have been the major influences in my life, that's probably why I'm not a horrible white person like so many of you guys out there. But, you know, if you're a white person, there is hope for you. You can learn, you can educate yourself, you can learn about other cultures, you can learn about other people, you can learn to realize that you're not a special chosen one, and the fact that you lack melanin and you know, maybe have like baby fine hair. Some white people have very thick hair, but you know, the fact that you lack in a lot of things that other people may have, it's okay. There's hope for you. You know, you can learn, you can educate yourself, you can learn how to be a better person, you can learn how to open your mind, you can learn how to realize that you're not the pinnacle of all good things. You're probably the bottom. You're probably like, you know, the no frills version. So anyway, that's why I think due process is a thing that everybody needs to know about. And, you know, everybody deserves it, whether you fucking like them or not, whether you're biased against them or not. And I got biases, just like all of us. Everybody has biases, but some people's biases are dangerous and violent and evil. Mine, I think, are based on history and facts. But again, like I said, you know, I give people a chance. I have my internal meter going like, are you like this? Are you like this? Are you like this? I want to see it. Anyways, happy Easter. Oh, and don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you never miss another video, and join me on my website as well, catlovedreamingpeach.com. You can join me on YouTube for free. Just hit subscribe. It's free. It would make a big difference to me. You can also be a member, and you can join me on Patreon for free, and you can join me on Patreon as a member. See you. Oh, and you can also join me as a member on my YouTube. I mean, not my YouTube, on my website. Okay, see you. Bye.